We're going to Dongtan 2 by the SRT. And in this video, we're gonna try something new. Just kind of raw vlogging like this, because we'd never done it before. And the last video took me like 5 days to edit, so we'll want to see if this works out too. So have you been to Dongtan 2 before?
Of course. We're from there. This is our hood. 오늘은 신도시를 보여줄 거야.
신도시는 뭐야?
신도시는 비교적 최근에 만들어진 도시들이야. 그러니까 뭔가 의도를 가지고 지어진 곳이겠지? 와, 광주 송정까지 가네. 라떼는 말이야. 저거 가려면 아주 무궁화호를 타고 아주 난리로 갔다고, 광주 송정에. 그런데 지금은 말이야 엄청 편하네.
진짜 편해졌지.
불평하지 마. 라떼는 말이지 너무 불편했어. 여기 표 사는 곳 있어, 베이.
So we booked our tickets on the app, but you have to have a Korean credit card to book on there.
If you don't have a Korean ID and credit card, you can book your ticket at any SRT station at one of these kiosks or the ticket counter. The SRT goes all around the country, and if you're going as far as Busan, it's just under $40 for one way. And luckily, as of June 2023, you can now book online with international credit cards too.
It's a big waiting area here.
부산 같은 데 갈 때 간식 같은 거 그럴 때 여기 세븐일레븐도 있고 여기 뭐 약간 스낵킹 할 수 있는데 여러 개 있거든? 그래서 골라서 사가지고 먹을 수도 있겠다.
It's a favorite right there.
동원 고추참치는 한 번도 안 먹어봤는데.
아마 추석 때문에 이거 참치가 너무 많았어. 이제 만든 거야?
나는 괜찮은 거 같은데. 우리 좀 뭐 나눠 먹을까 그냥? 아이고 까버렸는데? 난리 났네.
So loud, man. 맛있어?
가운데만 있어.
So there's two different types of high-speed rail in Korea. There's the KTX and the SRT. KTX has been around forever. SRT just came out like, maybe I want to say 5 years ago or something. So Dongtan 2 would take about an hour to get there by bus. I think the buses leave from either Seoul Station or Gangnam. It's only 15 minutes on the high-speed rail. They're also making a GTX, like high-speed subway system in Korea. And the one in between Seoul and Dongtan is one of the first lines that'll open up. The GTX will make things a lot faster and smoother when traveling in Seoul, for sure. But we gotta go to car 17.
The SRT is almost the exact same experience as the KTX. There is a tray to read or eat, footrests with easily enough space for me at about 180 centimeters tall, power outlets at your feet, luggage racks and bathrooms in most of the cars, and then one vending machine if you get hungry or thirsty. The 15-minute ride was also completely underground from Suso to Dongtan Station.
That was a pretty fast trip though, eh?
너무 빨랐다. 아쉽다.
맞아.
이거 좀 느낌이 이상해. 기차잖아. 근데 내릴 때는 지하철이야.
Yeah, I've never seen like a train station like this before.
Pretty weird feeling, right? 이별이 익숙하지 않은 우리네 부모님들.
This does not feel like Dongtan at all because we've never been to this train station before. We used to live in Dongtan for like almost 2 years and I don't think we've ever been down here before, right?
그리고 동탄이 1, 2가 있잖아. 우리는 동탄 1에서 살았고 2를 많이 안 왔거든. 그래서 여기 진짜 생소하긴 하지.
Do you think the SRT is any different than the KTX though?
비슷한데?
I think it's the exact same.
비슷해.
Like I was expecting it to be a little bit newer, but very similar, you know?
근데 생각보다 올드
Oh,
더 오래됐는데.
so that was surprising, but it's still a comfortable ride for sure. I mean, we don't have anything like that in Canada, so.
와, 야, 고객 라운지도 있어.
Whoa, it's pretty fancy actually.
와, 롯데리아?
So the next step is to rent some bikes, some e-bikes here, and go to a place called Me리그라운드. I think it's in a shopping mall, but it's a cool food court that you know nothing about still. Welcome to the future. Since the last time we were here, the department store wasn't here, and that huge building on top of it didn't exist at all. It wasn't even like constructed, so that was like 2 years ago. That is the way of Dongtan too, right? Because I looked at like online, if you look at Google Maps, you can look at the history, and this is all just grass 10 years ago.
옛날 우산처럼?
Oh, here we
아,
go.
이거야?
Oh,
우리 동탄 살 때는 우리 때는 말이야 이거 이런 게 없어가지고 막 돈 내고 썼는데 말이야. 야, 너 친구들은 못 하는 거 아니냐?
If you don't have a Korean ID, I don't think you can ride these bikes, unfortunately. So there's probably a bike rental shop somewhere in Dongtan too, but I'm not too sure. Whoa.
It was time to take a little tour of Dongtan too. We're heading from Dongtan Station down to a shopping complex called Lakmon, which is right beside the Dongtan Lake Park. About a 4-kilometer ride, which is nothing on an e-bike. Korea's new cities are specifically built with cyclists and pedestrians in mind, typically with parks intertwined throughout the city to make walking between places easier and more scenic. They also typically advertise bike paths that are completely separate and perfect for commuting. And as you can see on Kakao Maps, there is 88% bike lane coverage on our journey. However, when you look at the supposed bike path, you can see that it's actually just a shared sidewalk that's not clearly marked at all for bikes. It's also insanely bumpy, which makes riding these e-bikes a pretty uncomfortable ride, to be honest. It's been this way in every new city we've been to in Korea. And I'd say the bike infrastructure still pales in comparison to Seoul.
What do you think of the Kakao bike?
생각보다 좋은데 이게 나가는 힘이 굉장히 좋다.
맞아.
이게 속도가 엄청 빨라지거나 그러진 않는데 이게 출발할 때 이 힘이 엄청 좋다.
Another thing we noticed was just how empty the streets were overall. There are still a lot of newer buildings with for rent signs, and despite having a population of 270,000 people in a relatively small area, there is still lots of space. It's pretty futuristic looking overall, with massive skyscraper developments everywhere, attached to businesses on the ground floors. And there is also a lot more green everywhere than you see in Seoul, which is good to see despite having massive buildings everywhere too.
와, 이거 28분 썼는데 요금이 4,500원,
와.
4,600원이다 야.
진짜 사기네.
완전 비싸다. 이거 한번 탔으니까 또 다음 옮겨갈 때는 다른 거 타도 돼.
맞아.
꼭 이것만 해야 되는 건 아니고. 그리고 약간 이 신도시는 이렇게 자유로워.
맞아.
신호등이.
오래 걸리거나 자유로운 거야. 중간이 없어. This is called the Lakmon Department Store or something like that?
라크모.
Let's see how this is. There you go.
뭐야? 메리그라운드인가?
You shall see.
와, 여기라도 들어올 수가 있었다. 저기 너무 귀엽다. 오, 씨. Be careful. 와, 이게 식당인 것 같은데?
맞네.
여기는 음식을 마음대로 시키고 아무 데나 앉아서 먹는 거야? 아니면 그럼 이런 자리도 앉아서 먹는 거야?
그런 거 같은데.
야, 우리 저기 저런 데도 괜찮다. 야, 아니 이거 물고기도 있잖아.
Little fish inside.
근데 새소리까지 나.
맞아.
아니 이게 발상이 좋네. 여기서 먹어야 되나 보다. Mary's Garden 이거 찍어.
Mary's Garden.
야, 너 진짜 잘 찾는다 이런 거.
네, 너한테 좀 신기한 거 보여주고 싶었어.
진짜 신기해.
It reminds me of like being in Thailand or Vietnam, you know,
나도
like
그 생각해.
they make these kind of shopping malls over there.
진짜 완전 나도 딱 처음에 들어왔을 때 동남아 생각났거든? 태국 생각났거든.
맛있어? 응? 이거 약간 더 인스턴트 느낌이 좀 나는 거. 되게 신기하네. Oh, a little bit of a fail with this place.
아니 여기가 장소가 굉장히 좋거든? 근데 음식이 조금 이게 다 먹어본 건 아니지만 약간 아쉽지.
This is kind of like the thing with Shindoshis though, is like everything is packaged really nicely. Like it all looks really nice, you know? This mall is amazing, you know? Super well built.
아이디어도 너무 좋아. 이렇게 했다는 것 자체가.
There's no soul in it, you know? There's no personality. So when you eat something like, it tastes kind of like instant food you buy at the grocery store, you know? Like if you buy like a ramen set that's just like in the refrigerator section and you just kind of stir it all together, that's what it tastes like. So no, mine was 2.5 out of 5 for sure.
진짜? 나도 포케를 좀 좋아하는 편이잖아. 그래도 이 포케는 한 3.5로 할게.
Alright.
저기로 나가볼까?
호수공원 있잖아.
와, 더 샤프는 있었나? 저거 새로운 거지?
그런 거 같아. That's crazy, like how fast these apartments just go up like that, though. Yeah, all 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, they're all new.
그런데 이 모양도 되게 잘했다. 이거보다 차라리 이게 난데?
There is a lot of room here, though, for sure.
그러게.
Dongtan 2 is the representation of Shindoshi. Like the facilities are really good for walking around for sure. It's hard to find like, first of all, if you're single or like us where we don't have kids or whatever, it's not like a really active and exciting area to live in, I guess.
우리한테는 너무 차분해가지고
맞아.
나중엔 좀 우리가 되게 느려졌잖아.
When we lived in Dongtan 1, we almost became like seniors just because everything was so slow. It felt kind of like living in Canada too at the same time. There's just like so much space everywhere and everyone is kind of settled down and there wasn't a lot of inspiration. But like if we had kids and a family, I think it'd be perfect,
거기가
right?
최고지.
It just totally depends on like what style of life you live. Like if Shindoshis are good for you or not, right?
근데 좀 아쉬운 거는 신도시라는 게 어떤 가족의 형태를 생각하고 만들잖아. 어떤 사람이 살지. 근데 그 어떤 사람이라는 기준에 보통은 3인, 4인 가족들이 대부분이고 약간 젊은 사람이 혼자 살 수도 있고 배우자나 연인 둘이 살 수도 있는데 그런 거보다는 아직도 한국은 가족 문화로 이렇게 기준을 잡고 만드는 게 있는 것 같아 아직도. 도시 계획을 할 때 약간 아직 그런 것 같기도 해.
Yeah, so you might be wondering why like Korea just decided to make all these new cities kind of close to Seoul. Half the country lives within about an hour of Seoul. Everybody wants the best environment for their kids, for work, to make the most money, and they probably just feel like they're being like left out a little bit, right? If they're not living in Seoul or
근데 난 약간 다른 관점도 있거든? 뭐냐면 사실 신도시라는 곳으로 이사를 갈 정도면 어느 정도 돈이 있어야 되거든? 근데 그래서 돈이 없는 사람들은 인프라가 좋은 곳에 가야 돼. 경제력이 없기 때문에 이미 인프라가 좋은 곳으로 가서 살아야지 그 인프라를 같이 누릴 수 있단 말이야. 내가 그 돈을 많이 내지 않더라도 그 인프라를 이용할 수 있는 곳에 가는 거거든? 그러니까 돈이 없을수록 사실 도시에서 살게 되는 거야. 인프라 때문에. 근데 이제 이렇게 신도시 나올 수 있는 사람 정도면 경제력이 어느 정도 있다고 봐야 되거든.
맞아.
그런 사람들이 또 교육에 더 신경을 쓰니까 신도시라는 것 자체가 약간 그런 사람들을 위해서 만들어진 것 같다고 생각이 드는 거지.
Would you ever live in another 신도시 again?
근데 나는 돈이 없는 편이니까. 근데 나는 이런 자연이 있고 이런 것도 좋긴 한데 평소에는 좀 더 활기찬 게 더 좋은 것 같아. 다른 지역으로 벗어나서 여행을 가는 거 그게 더 나은 것 같고 항상 이렇게 약간 너무 편안한 이런 분위기면 조금 난 다운되더라고. 그래서 나는 오히려 도시에서 살면서 여행을 자주 다니는 게 좋겠다.
Yeah, for me too. Like when we used to live in Dongtan, I loved it, to be honest. It was really, really peaceful. But also at the time, it was the pandemic, right? We weren't really missing out on much. But I think if it wasn't the pandemic and we wanted to do more things, I don't know if it would have been as nice to live there.
우리가 동탄에 살 때도 느낀 거지만 그냥 동탄 안에만 있으면 굉장히 좋아. 근데 어디 나가려고 하면 굉장히 어려워지는 거야. 약간 고립되는 것도 좀 느끼기도 했던 것 같아. 그래서 가족들이 살기에는 진짜 환상적이고 근데 이제 어딘가를 왔다 갔다 이렇게 나가는 것 자체는 굉장히 불편하다.
We spent the rest of the day exploring the city, and it was pretty crazy to see how much construction is still going on. There were also massive buildings filled with medical clinics and hagwons, which are academies for young students learning things like English and math. We were heading back to the train station, and finally got to ride on a double-decker bus after years of wanting to do so.
안녕하세요.
We got off the bus and ended up checking out one of the parks that's close to Dongtan Station. And you could feel the open space and also the amount of schools around the area. And then we decided to take the underground tunnel to see what was in the Lotte Department Store. It was pretty fancy, with an aquarium cafe that's way out of our budget, and a bunch of luxury stores, which is also something we aren't typically very interested in. However, there was a terrace on the third floor that wasn't too bad if you're in the area and just want to take a look around.
그런데 여기 의자를 둔 거는 앉으라는 건데 앉는다는 거의 뷰가 어떤 의미지? 어떤 뷰를 뜻하는 걸까?
You're just supposed to stare directly at like the wall.
와우.
This is like the spot that people take photos.
우와, 야 이거 이렇게 찍어야 되네. 나를 찍을 게 아니라. 약간 신도시를 한국에 아무리 관심이 있고 여행을 온다고 해도 신도시를 볼 수 있는 기회는 많지 않잖아. 근데 이제 신도시를 오기까지 약간 신도시에 그렇게 많은 것들이 있나? 그러니까 약간 한국에 이런 신도시라는 것도 있구나. 이렇게 이 비디오를 영상을 통해서 알 수 있을 것 같아.
That's the perfect way to say it. Like, at least today we were able to show a new city, show kind of how Korea is developing, and just kind of what the future is like here. Dongtan 2 didn't blow our expectations or anything, but it was still fun to come here for sure. Yeah, hopefully we were able to show a new part of Korea that people don't really get to see when they travel here.
Thanks so much for watching the video. If you want to help us out, please press like and consider subscribing if you want to watch more similar content in the future. And if you have financial flexibility and want to support us, you can check out our Patreon link in the description. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week with another adventure.